So in this video, we're going to be going over factoring quadratic equations. All right, a really important thing whenever we are getting ready to factor, we want to make sure that we have set it equal to 0. So once we factor, we'll have it down to something like, let's say x minus 2 times x plus 1 equals 0. And then the reason that we're able to just say, well, set each piece equal to 0 is because if you do 0 times anything else, okay, no matter what that number might be, that is going to be equal to 0. 0 times anything equals 0. So we can say, all right, well, if x minus 2 equals 0, if I plug in 2, that's going to work because I'll get 0 times, well, this piece doesn't really matter, right? 0 times anything gives me 0. And same thing with negative 1. If I plug in negative 1 here, well, I might get negative 3 times 0. That's going to be 0. Anything times that 0 will be equal to 0. So it's important that we get everything on the right side, on the same side, and then we factor. Okay, we want it equal to 0. So in this example, obviously we have things on two sides. It's not going to make sense right here to try and factor the left, factor the right, and then, whoa, wait, what do we do then? Okay, we want to get everything to one side, set it equal to 0, and then we can factor. So I'm just going to subtract everything from the left side over, everything from the right side over to the left side. So I get x squared minus 3x minus 10. This is now equal to 0. All right, well, my coefficient of the x squared, my leading coefficient, is 1. So we can just factor basically using our that basic knowledge that we have of factoring. It's what multiplies to give me negative 10 and adds to give me negative 3. So obviously it's going to be 1 negative, 1 positive if it multiplies to give me a negative. If it's positive, then you have to look at this sign, right? They're either both positive if this is a plus, or they're both negative if that is a minus. But in this case, 1 is negative, 1 is positive. And then you can clearly see, all right, well, negative 5 and 2 multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 3. So I have x minus 5 times x plus 2 has to be equal to 0. And now I can just set each piece equal to 0. So x minus 5, when is that equal to 0? When x is equal to 5. And then when x is equal to negative 2. Those are my two solutions. You can plug them back in to check and see if they work. I'm sure that they will. All right, and now, what happens when my leading coefficient here, that a value, right, if you think of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right, this is our standard form of a quadratic equation. What happens when that a value is not equal to 1? Okay, so what we're going to do here is what's known as factor by grouping. Okay, we'll factor by grouping. So what that means is we're going to multiply the a and the c values together. So multiply 2 times negative 15. That gives me negative 30. And we're going to do exactly what we did before. We'll say what multiplies to negative 30 and adds to give me this b value right here, which is 1. So what multiplies to negative 30 and adds to give me 1? That's going to be a positive 6 and negative 5. Okay, positive 6 and negative 5. So what I do then is I'm going to split up this plus 1x. Okay, I'm going to split it up into plus 6x minus 5x. So this gives me 2x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 15 equals 0. All right, so we notice this plus 6x minus 5x. If I combine those like terms, that would give me that plus 1x that I have up there. However, this is where the factor by grouping comes into play. I'll look at the first two terms together and factor out whatever I can. So 2x squared plus 6x, you can factor out a 2x, and you're left with x plus 3. And then I'll look at these second two terms. All right, this negative 5x minus 15. And I'm going to have to factor as much out of there as I can, and it should leave me with x plus 3. So let's see what happens. Let's factor out. Okay, I can factor out a negative 5. So I factor out negative 5, and I'm left with, beautiful, x plus 3. Okay, and now doing like a reverse distributive property, right? This 2x minus 5 I can write together in parentheses. And then x plus 3 in parentheses. Because that's the reverse of, all right, let's say I distribute 2x to that and then negative 5. That would give me the step above. All right, and then I can just set each of these pieces equal to 0. So obviously that's going to give me x is equal to negative 3. And then if you want, you can say, all right, well, when is 2x minus 5 equal to 0? That's 2x is equal to 5. So that gives you 5 halves. So x is equal to negative 3 or 5 halves. So that is factor by grouping. And we're going to need to do that whenever we have an a value not equal to 1.